for this instalment of Who's Unsung Heroes, I'm talking to a gentleman who's worked with the last 2 Doctors as a supporting artist, but he's also featured alongside many iconic monsters, whilst not being one himself, though. I'm delighted to introduce Stu Matthews. How are you?
I'm all good.
Doctor Who is probably, one of many jobs you've worked on, but were you aware of it? Does it particularly stand out?
Do you know what? When I grew up, I was 6 years old, and on my 6th birthday, which is in the year 1979, I looked this window shop, and it was Doctor Who magazine, #1, Doctor Who Weekly then, and it had Tom Baker on the front. And so we got that #1 for birthday, and I just get it every week, and I just became this Doctor geek. So I can talk about old Doctor Who for ages. I can talk about Ted from or the War Games, or the Claws of Axis, or the Daemons, or Castrovolva, or I'm trying to think of a William Hartnell one now. Fury from the Deep's Patrick Trent, isn't it? An Unearthly Child. Yeah, there you go. That's you anyway. And when it got New Doctor, I was really excited that it was starting up again, but it got quite bad in the 80s, and it needed to be a bit better than that. But it was, and when the chance came along to be in it, I was just super excited. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was like the little boy in me was jumping up and down. So it meant a lot to be on it, absolutely.
Because am I right in thinking your first time on the show was with Peter Capaldi, the Cybermen, and Missy?
Missy, yeah, she was she? Yeah, she was there, but I didn't know who he was at the time. I don't think anybody was. So we just saw Cybermen walking up and down in one of those main streets in Cardiff, where there's a nightclub. We use that as a holding area, the nightclub. Just bizarre seeing all these Cybermen walking up and down. We had to sort of take photos of them and selfies and things. That was scene.
But as a fan, for your first day on the show to be with Cybermen, I mean, it couldn't get much better than that, surely.
Well, that was crazy. I actually got to see what it was like to be a Cyberman. They had a number of guys doing it, and even more on screen when you watch it, because they were all superimposed again and then again and again. But what really stood out was when they were resting, and they would just sort of stand there like this, and that was them taking a break. They couldn't. All these guys that were being Cybermen couldn't sit down. They couldn't sort of lie down. But that's how they relaxed. Just do that posture, and it looked ridiculous. It's just all these Cybermen in midst invasion going, "I'm just going to take a break." But yeah, it was really amazing seeing iconic beings and just standing next to them and stuff. Yeah, it's great stuff.
More recently, and talking about a scene that didn't make it to screen, you worked with Lenny Henry on the first episode of Jodie Whittaker's latest series.
That one with Lenny Henry, I was a cop, a Merry cop, and I went in through a corridor firing a weapon at this monster. And on set, it's strobe lights, sort of plastic. But I think when you watch it, it's all a bit blurred and things. I was quite looking forward to seeing myself get eaten by this monster, but the whole thing's cut out. But when you watch it, it wouldn't make sense. What's the companion's name? Not Yaz, the other one, the guy.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan was there, and he's about to run off. It would have been in just that bit there that I come in and try and shoot the monster and get killed, and then he runs off. That was what was meant to happen. But I think when you watch it, it would have just looked a bit weird that happened, because there's no other cops around at all. Why would I be there? Why wouldn't I? It doesn't make sense. So I did watch it.
But you've worked, say, with both Peter and Jodie, but you managed to appear in the 50th anniversary story, which, again, as a fan, must be a dream come true.
Yeah. So that was pretty crazy. I've worked with a few doctors in other things, actually, and I met John Pertwee once, which was quite exciting for me. I've met Tom Baker as well, but when I met John Pertwee, I was only 13. So that was, and it was in the sort of time that he looked like he was out of the Five Doctors. He had kind of look, and he always used to dress up as Doctor Who normally. So wherever he was, he would just be the Doctor. Hello. So I had all these memories anyway of sort of having an affiliation with the show. And then, to be in that show, it was quite a quick scene, but it was just Matt Smith watching the TARDIS in Trafalgar Square in the 50th anniversary show.
Probably your most noticeable part was in Pyramids at the End of the World, where you're actually the pre-titles sequel.
So, you'll see me in the Pyramids at the End of the World, having my house busted in by not the monks, it's these police that work for the monks. If you look carefully, there's a picture of a monk on the wall. The TV Times has the monks on it, and there's lots of monk paraphernalia everywhere. They were just everywhere, and we'd forgotten about life before the monks. They were just ran everything. And my wife, I wasn't aware of it, and this is how I found out, but she was part of a little secret syndicate where they were trying to collect data because they didn't think the monks were really there. That it was actually a conspiracy. So, my house got raided. on the day, it's an actual house in Cardiff, and that was a whole day shooting that. And there was a girl and a boy there. You don't see the girl; she had lines. That's cut out. You do see the boy. The girl, her lines were to do with she told the cops that what her mum was up to, so that would have given another little interesting emphasis to the story. So it was a family of 4, wife and husband, and the 2 kids watching Peter Capaldi on BBC. We weren't watching Peter Capaldi on the day, though. We were watching a special version of Casualty with monks in it, and they decided not to use it. So that actually on screen was monks in Casualty, Charlie there and people like that for Casualty. I got a great story about Charlie, actually. I was on set on Casualty, and I felt sick, so I ran all the way to the toilets in the BBC filming studios. And they're about to film Casualty on the day, but very early in the morning. So I've knelt over it's a heavy night. I've knelt over the toilet, and everything that's come up from the previous night is there, it's gone. And I turn round, and there is Charlie, dressed as Charlie from Casualty, going, "Are you all right?" And it's like, I'm in a TV show. The person that's helped me is Charlie.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Doesn't happen often, does it?
The scale of, Marvel, Disney, Doctor Who surely doesn't really compare. The scale of the number of essays, everything about it must be on a different level.
Interesting conversation is, because to me, Doctor Who is the one is to get excited about. I know friends that get excited about Star Trek more than anything else, and Star Wars more than anything else. And it gets even more bizarre than that. Things I've never heard of. But my one's Doctor Who. And I think Doctor Who had a bigger budget. It would be extraordinary. It would be awesome to follow. But it would probably become very, very complicated as well with... So I prefer things like Torchwood and little spin-offs, which just expand the universe more. Just if the series had a bigger budget, then you could go places with it. But what they do is do quite interesting stories. It's quite humane stories sometimes, and that's very much in the ethos of Doctor Who, going right back to the big, and that's very unique. The inclusivity of Doctor Who is very important as well.
Because another of your Jodie Whittaker stories was the Witchfinders, and again, that's a historical one with a bit of science fiction thrown in, which only Doctor Who can do, really, can't they?
That's right. Yeah, you can go backwards and forwards. You can go and watch the End of the World from a spaceship, and then the next day go back time. Yeah. So it was an interesting situation. I'm a villager in a medieval village. You're right, yeah. You're just going to fill up the water from the pump stuff, and then Jodie and Bradley, the gang, come through, and I think they were being censored at that point in time, but they were getting a lot of attention. It was just quite fun to be part of that day as well. Yeah, good fun. With medieval stuff, you do quite mucky. I think that must have been how they used to live. No one in themselves, but when you go and see Meg in the morning, they colour your face in to look like you've been rolling around a bit. But always colour your fingers. That bit at the bottom of your fingernails get coloured in, and then they also get dirt in fingertips as well, just underneath your fingernails, and that's just so good, and it never comes out. And then if you're going out in the evening, it's just really embarrassing, you know, just going out, hang out with your friends or something. Sorry guys, I was filming. No, you weren't. You won't be working on the farm again, haven't you? But yeah, that's pretty good. Anything that's old, they do that to you. Standard.
Probably another memorable shoot in the ways that it was difficult, but also the episode would have been Matt Smith's final story, Time of the Doctor, because that was all done at night, wasn't it? All the scenes in the village there.
That was a run of, I think that might have been my first one. Lederhosen, up on the top of the Brecon Beacons, just in a big crowd. And it was quite lively. Yeah, everybody's a bit loopy, but it was just exceptionally cold up there. And I think they knew it was going to be cold. But when it's cold at night on the Brecon Beacons, just don't wear shorts. I've done it. I can tell you that just don't do it. Wear a t-shirt, just don't wear shorts. It's just too cold up there. So that's my memory of that. And yeah, I did see Matt Smith in his last sort of performance when he's talking to the crowd there. I'm in the mix somewhere there.
But more recently, and Doctor Who aside, we saw you in The Quiz, which ITV put out a couple of months ago.
Do you know, I've been in 333 shows, and that was the last one I've done, most recent, and that has in it Mark Sheen, who plays Terran. I've ended up having a run of bits of work with him because I'm the same measurements, I believe, and I was standing in for him quite a lot on different things. I think he would think I was following him around, but yeah, I kept being booked. Sometimes I was in Wales, sometimes I was London, and that's the last I saw him as well, doing the Chris Tarrant thing. So my thing there was I was a reporter when the Major comes out and press statement. I'm just there in the mix, in the crowd there. In the days where we could sing crowds before coronavirus. Don't sneeze. Yeah. Just on this subject, I've with other doctors in other programs as well. So Davidson in Good Omens, Peter Davison in Law and Order, Peter Capaldi in Paddington, and Christopher Eccleston about 3 times. So Lucan, I'm a croupier in the casino for Lord Lucan before he goes missing, and King Lear. We worked with Anthony Hopkins there, and I'm one of his henchmen. Mr. Eccleston's there. That was a good. He's the nicest actor to work with, actually, Anthony Hopkins. Do you know what? I think I've seen Christopher Eccleston 3rd time. I was in Legend, and he's a sort of chief constable inspector trying to nick the Krays. I think he might be called Sergeant Nipper or something, actually, which is a great name. And I'm in one of the clubs as a sort of friend of the Krays, dancing and looking a bit like Buddy Holly, actually. But yeah, so he pops up, and it's just pretty awesome just to see them work and be normal people in real life. So yeah, that's nice to see.
You wouldn't necessarily have a great deal to do with them unless you're in a scene or you're doubling for them, then, I take it. If
you're doubling or standing in, you actually have to work with them quite closely, not necessarily with them, interfere or overlap with them. you have to watch them and basically copy what do. And with doubling, yeah, you really need to be mindful of all the postures and movements and things, because you become them for, not anybody knows, but you become them for a while. I've doubled a few actors actually: Josh Brolin, Mark Ruffalo, Bryan Cranston, and yeah, I think there's another one as well, but there's a few names.
Is there one particular
Michael Sheen.
series or film that you'd particularly like to work on that you haven't yet?
I kind of think I've done everything that there is. Actually, it wasn't the case a while ago, so it's got more to actors I haven't worked with. I've been in all soaps that get made in the UK. I've been in all the franchises. I've worked with all the superheroes. So if you name one, I go, yeah. I was in the last Spider-Man movie, for example. So it's actual actors. So I'd like to see people like Christian Bale in real life, or Morgan Freeman, or what haven't I seen yet? If I get the chance to, you could say Tom Cruise. I've worked with him a couple of times. My favourite actor that I did actually have the pleasure of working with, who's not with us anymore, is Robin Williams. That amazed me, that did. That you can sign up to these little jobs, and there's a day in your life where you just do something amazing, and you get to work with someone like that. And it was 6 months before he passed away. Well, so that's my favourite comedian and a very empathic actor. So that really was quite a day in the life, really. And then life goes back to normal the next day. You're thinking, did that really happen? But yeah, things like that happen. You're just sort of standing next to and working with iconic people who actually will remember your name through the day.
On mention of great comic actors such as Robin Williams, I mean, I have to say thank you very much for your time, Stuart. It's been fascinating talking to you about some
Thank
of
you,
your
Alex.